Paw Patch Quilt Shop, and I'd like to give you some tips today on doing a signature quilt. There's a couple of things that are important to remember. First of all, whatever you're going to have your participants write on needs to be a product that doesn't have a lot of print on it. It needs to be a solid or a tone-on-tone that you'll be able to see the writing. You need to decide what quilt you're going to put those signatures into. And I would recommend not having them made blocks ahead of time, especially if you're like me, you're procrastinating anyways, and you're probably not going to get them made before the anniversary or the wedding. So plan what size you want your blocks to be. If you're just doing square blocks, decide the size. Have those cut out, and you need to mark the 1/4 inch seam allowance on them because people don't understand that you have to have a seam. Also, people want to write in one little corner of the square, so give instructions to fill up the whole block. If you're going to put into a block like this, you could cut out your rectangles, have your seam allowance marked, and have those out ready to sign. A little tip I would recommend to you: do not just put a stack of squares on a table at a reception because nobody will sign them. So I recommend getting some cute little boys and girls with baskets that will have your prepared fabric squares, your markers, a little stabilizer for the back, and have them go around to each person at the party or the reception and have them have the people write a note, because you'll probably only get 1/4 of the people that will actually write notes if you leave it up to them. So a couple tips for doing your signatures. You want to have a marker that's going to be water fast and not bleed, and there are quite a few products out there. Any kind of fabric marker. We like Pigma pens here. They do come in different sizes, but when I write, it looks like a signature. It's not going to bleed, and it can be washed. There are colored felt tip markers that would make a wider line that are available also in different colors. The Pigma pens also come in different colors. So you're going to want to have a product that's going to be color fast and not bleed. Ink pen's going to bleed, and a regular felt tip marker is going to bleed on your fabric. These are like $2.86, so they're reasonable. And if you're going to do a big reception, have 5 or 6 of them, one in each of those baskets or 2, so that people don't have to wait to leave their message. Once you have your square figured out, you're going to have to figure out a way to stabilize that fabric in the writing. Because if any of you know, when you try to draw on fabric, it swooshes and moves and crinkles, and it's hard to write. So you can do a couple things. One option is just to take freezer paper and iron. You can actually iron multiple squares onto that freezer paper, or one single freezer paper onto each square. That way, when the person writes, it's steady. They're not going to get the fabric shifting. You can also have like their craft pads that are a little tacky that you can have. They just fold up and you can use those. Anything just to hold that fabric. Very fine sandpaper will also work. With the Pigma pens, these tips are very, very fine. So you want to make sure that the participants at the reception know that they're not going to have to press really hard. So they're going to go ahead and do their signatures. You've got your seam allowance on there. Tell them to fill up the space. And then you're going to put those into blocks. And one thing I would suggest is, if you want the signatures to stand out, that you plan a quilt that's not going to be really busy, that you'll be able to see those statements. And of course, depending on how much you want them to write, like some of these, it's just a name. I don't want to put a lot in there, but if you want to have it be a message, you'll want to have a larger square. And then just have fun designing. We have several books that I think were at the beginning of the video that give lots of ideas for signature quilts, for memory quilts, ways that these can be incorporated. These 3 patterns, actually 3 patterns are free patterns that are available. You can contact us at Paw Patch Quilt Shop and we'd be glad to send them to you. These 2 are paper pieced, and this is a pieced block. So if you have any questions, give us a call at Paw Patch Quilt Shop or check us out on the internet. Have a great day.